Chop chop, everybody. Let's go. Chop chop. Chop chop, everyone. Sarah, Maxine, come on. Are we on? Oh, we are now back on live. We've had plenty of discussion. I think we understand that there's two different types of thinking around the room, and now's the time to test it through the vote. So I've explained what the motion seeks to do, which I think I explained accurately. So Sarah, you're...
Just clarify with governance, if this gets voted down, it becomes a general car lane. Is that the status quo now?
No.
No, what's the status quo?
The bus lane.
Okay.
Yeah, which would make sense because
Yeah.
Yes.
But it won't be used as that for some time. That's the only difference.
But it will be a bus lane. It will be, yeah, it will refer back to our status quo, which is that the bridge is a bus lane.
Okay, let's go. Everyone, sorry. No, not really. He's not going to vote. He's not going to vote.
Oh, yeah, and he is now anyway.
He said, was I worried that you weren't here? I said, no. I didn't quite say it. I said, no, you're not voting. Okay, if we can go quiet so that Sarah, because I do feel for Sarah's, with all the coming backwards and forwards, I know you want to settle to your debate and you were in flow before. So if we could all listen and let Sarah have her debate. You ready?
Okay. Thank you. The original intention of this bridge was to have dedicated bus lane on all of our communications. If you look on our website, our press releases, that is what we say. Now, I understand that we won't immediately have bus services using these bus lanes, and so I understand the concern of having bus lanes that have no buses. Now, the problem, though, of turning this into general traffic lanes is that when we do want these to be bus lanes, it is going to be so hard, so much harder to turn around and take those car lanes away. That is what the community will see that as. Whereas we've said, look, from the beginning, we want to do Peacock really well. We want it to be environmentally sustainable. We want it to have transport choices. This was the full intent of the subdivision. And so instead of buying a really big, difficult problem later down the track when we need this to be a bus lane and we're turning it from a general lane to a bus lane, this motion at least signalises intent that this will be a lane that is intended for higher occupancy use. It can start as T2 or T3 depending on what staff advise. It gives a strong signal, and at the same time we can look at other ways of communicating the future intent of this. There aren't really other practical ways about this. We can close off the whole lane, or we turn it into a bus lane, or we have we can't put markings saying future bus lane. We would not. It would be confusing, and we probably wouldn't be allowed to do it. So let's not buy a future fight. Let's keep to the vision of this, but in a pragmatic way. So the lanes still get used, and it might be years, even when the buses start using these, that we can keep it that way until we feel that it needs to be dedicated bus lanes.
I echo pretty much everything that Sarah has said. Just earlier this morning we were talking about future proofing and what that could look like with regards to water. We are talking about future proofing, the ability for traffic to traverse over this bridge, and I think it's important that we note how we have arrived at this decision. It's difficult to put infrastructure into existing infrastructure, and we are seeing right now a lot of the problems that causes, and so we can get ahead of the ball here. We can put what we need to put in now. It's not going to have an immediate impact on anybody living over in Peacocks, and I think that this is a wise choice to support this this motion. So well done, Sarah. Well done, Councillor Wilson. Ka wai.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor Paula. Look, I understand why some elected members will be concerned about being associated with any transport initiative concerning bus lanes, because if we're being candid, of recent times there has been some very poor decisions. And I've been, and others have championed, having to revoke some of those decisions. But this is not in that category. This is not in this category. Sonia will, I think, has sent around photos. Simone has sent around photos of what this council has always said what this bridge would look like. It was always going to be 6 lanes. It was always going to have a dedicated bus lane in each direction. Why? Why? Because we asked ourselves that we had this once in a 100-year opportunity to build a new community of up to 20,000 people, and we thought we'd have an opportunity to future plan, to set the best example of what a future community could look like. And we built a bridge. We built a bridge with a pedestrian, with cycleways, and a dedicated bus lane. And that's what people are expecting. And now we're saying, oh my gosh, if we mention a bus lane, we're going to get negative media. I say they're expecting leadership, not councillors that run for the hills. I look at Anzac Bridge and I look at that bus lane, and there are a corner where there is no bus lane, and then suddenly the bus lane appears, and then it disappears, and then it appears again. And I say to myself, well, that's the council that didn't see into the future. This is an opportunity for us to show the vision. And if we're concerned that the bus service may not start immediately, well, that's a discussion we should be having with our regional council. And maybe we should put a big sign next to the bridge, we're building for the future. This is the future, Hamilton. It includes buses, cars, pedestrians, and cycles. We're about to walk away from what we committed originally. This is greenfield. We need to do this once, do it well. I need your support, colleagues.
Councillor Hutt.
You should know that this is a special item when Councillor Wilson and I are in agreement. I hope that signals that this is, something really important. And I actually agree with a lot of what Councillor Wilson's talked about, and of course, always hoping to channel my inner Councillor Thompson on these. I really think it's about setting expectations that public transport is the future. It is a more efficient way of moving people if you have 35 people in a bus rather than 35 individual people in cars in front of you. That's simply like maths. But I do also think that we need to be practical, and I'm pleased that Councillor Wilson brought up the scant 200 metres, maybe 180 metres of existing bus lane that we have in the total of the city. And you just need to attempt to go down Anglesey Street at 5:30 to see how disrespected it is by people. We don't monitor it, and people drive in it. I've watched a taxi park outside the courthouse and a bus come along and be unable to go any further. So I do think that we need to be practical and not put in a bus lane which people will ignore, and then they have the habit of continuing to ignore this infrastructure. And I think that if we can't immediately offer people a bus service because there isn't the population to support it, the next best thing is saying, hey, we do want you to carpool though. Carpooling's like a really small bus of 4 or 5 people. I also think that we need to make efficient decisions. We shouldn't put this off. We can just make it today. And as Andrew Parsons said, it is just paint. This is like one of the cheapest things we can do. So I think this is actually really straightforward as a decision. It's practical, it sets the right expectations, and yeah, it's just paint.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Deputy Mayor O'Leary.
I think my limit of listening to debate that pushes members for or against, no matter what, is coming to an end. Because unfortunately, and Councillor Taylor expressed this in PX, this item being discussed in PX, the listeners and the media that will no doubt cover it don't have the full context. We do need to protect this lane for future bus lane, but we're trying to be practical, and those of us that were concerned and asking questions around it were trying to be practical. So the narrative of you're either an idiot and you're against it or you're an idiot and you're for it, I'm just tired of that. And no one called anybody an idiot, but that's how sometimes the narrative sounds. I just want us to be practical around this. There are, I don't know, 35, 50 people living in Peacock at the moment. We know the tough financial times that building is coming under. It's going to be a decade before there are 20,000 people living there. We don't need a dedicated bus lane across that bridge right now, but I guess this is a compromise, and that's what Councillor Thompson is trying to do, because we are going to look rather silly with a dedicated bus lane with no bus service and no people living out there. But taking it away was my concern as well, and my objective. Taking something away from people once you've given it to them, dare I say, free parking, Councillor Wilson, in the CBD, is a really hard thing to do. So, look, yeah, it is what it is. I'm sorry for the people that are listening in the media, because you haven't got the full context of any of the debate and the questions, but it is what it is.
Andrew. Hello. Sorry,
Thank
your
you,
mic
Mayor
was
Fulton.
off. Oh,
Firstly, I want to thank Jeff for bringing this out of the public excluded and into the public arena, because it is important, and we must be careful about what stuff we keep excluded. The transparency is vital. So thanks, Jeff, for spotting that. I am generally against bus lanes. I do like Kesha's approach of blaming Waikato Regional Council. That's a good option. I've listened to the debate, particularly Ewan Wilson's comments and history of the bus lanes being there at the design of the bridge. And that has swayed me because I don't want to overturn a decision without public support. And the current proposal of T2, T3 gives time for the public to see what's going on and to respond. And if the public wants to change it, they can do so over time. So I'm prepared to support the motion.
Thank you. Any further debate? I'm going to just add a little bit, and I totally agree with Deputy Mayor O'Leary in terms of the intent of this space, and I buy into the idea that new subdivisions should be done to the highest standard of transportation, and that some of the hiccups and the angst and concern that we've had in Hamilton over bus lanes and bumps and anything else at the moment has been because it is incredibly hard to retrofit an old city into new ways of moving. But when you've provided dedicated space on a new build, and you're going to provide cycling, walking, busing, cars, all in their efficient network in a new part, you should do that. You should do that. So this debate has, to me, seems in some respects a little bit unnecessary, because I think we were always of the view that the bus should be used in the way, the bridge should be used in the flexible and agile way that it was always intended to be used. Yes, it doesn't make sense to rub people's faces in it and put big markings saying bus lane when there won't be a bus on there for potentially a decade. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm ambivalent about the T2, T3. I think our ability to actually enforce that will be very limited. is another thing. So, but in the meantime, it's such a low traffic flow at the moment that it's a moot point. It's just a moot point because there's going to be plenty of space for cars to get over that very new modern bridge. And in the long term, things will change, but I think we should be, as Simone has said with her pictures, we should be reminding people of new futures in new areas of our town. That's it. Anybody else want to say anything? No? Okay, let's go to the vote. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I want to apologise
Okay.
if I've been distracting
Cool.
her, and I'm
Yep.
sorry about that.
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to clarify something.
So, thank you. So, just in terms of for the benefit of my good neighbour here, originally the macroscope, i.e. the overall design for Peacock, included dedicated bus lanes on the Peacock Bridge. So my recollection is actually that extra money was reallocated from the contingency of the overall program, into the bridge to allow for the extra width. So we've actually paid more money to have the space for bus lanes on this bridge. And what this report here is saying is that staff are, suggesting otherwise, that we just turn this into all general traffic lanes on the bridge instead of what was originally tendered the whole time was the dedicated bus lanes. So now this is a compromise in recognition that we won't have buses immediately, but at the same time, look, we just know how hard it is to then turn around and then say we're going to just turn this to a bus lane. If in 10 years' time it goes from a general traffic lane and then we say we're making decisions to turn it to a bus lane, a lot of people just won't have remembered that was our intention at the very beginning. They will have gotten used to having those two lanes. It will be a difficult fight. Either way, I think, whatever decision we make, there will be some complaints in terms of this, but I think people will look and see this as a future-proofing decision and be grateful for that in the future, even if they don't fully understand the thinking right now. But so I'll leave my debate there, but I thank those members for who have indicated their support to date. And I do note this will go to the traffic panel, so there'll be further information and another opportunity for elected members to actually get into detail and look at this again.
right, let's go to the vote, team. Okay.
The motion is carried, noting that Councillor Taylor is dissenting.
Yeah, you've just your. Oh. Yeah, you did. No, because that was the default. So you have. That's why some of us changed. All right, everyone, thank you very much. The meeting has come to a close. Max, we'll go for a coffee and then at 12 we'll meet. Yeah. Hey? Sorry, apologies. We haven't had our